Hi, you're watching the Times of India and I'm Aditi Prasad. Today we are bringing to you the 6 key lessons from Verdict 2024, not just for our netas but also the so-called election experts, pollsters and of course for you, the voter. Yes, it was a surprise verdict where virtually everyone failed to read the tea leaves in Uttar Pradesh, in Maharashtra, in Bengal, and to some extent Rajasthan. But what are these 6 key lessons that we need to take from what really went on in elections 2024? Number one, drop the reliance on cult personalities. Never take voters for granted, and I think that is the primary one there. Never take voters for granted. That's the number one lesson. Expectations, don't, put out expectations which are unrealistic, whether it's 400 par or frankly whether it's 293 to 295, which the Congress and the India Alliance said that they were getting. So don't rely on one person to win all your seats, and that's the lesson for the BJP in this case. That's lesson number one. Lesson number two, of course, that the coalition dharma is back. The BJP, for the BJP, Modi ji will have to pick a leaf from the Vajpayee era, how he managed the coalition partners. For the Congress, holding the India bloc together ahead of critical assembly elections in Maharashtra, in Jharkhand, and other states. Now, the third key lesson that we're saying, that the key takeaway is that we must take, or all netas, parties must take Uttar Pradesh very seriously. Rural distress, despite social welfare schemes, was a key factor. Ticket distribution, another key factor. The caste arithmetic, another key factor. All of these need to be taken very, very seriously, because all roads to Delhi, yes, and this election proves it yet again, come via Lucknow. Finally, the fourth, false dawn for the Congress. Now, we're calling it a false dawn because for a very important reason, that it's a win, but it comes on the back of very strong alliance, very smart alliances that the Congress party did with in Uttar Pradesh, in Maharashtra, in Tamil Nadu. Of course, none of us, including me, failed to read that, and that is one of the key the reasons why it's coming as a surprise verdict for everyone. And for the Congress too, it's probably time to use this momentum to rebuild the party from the grassroots. There's a more definite momentum from 53 seats. Now they are up to 99 seats, and that's where they need to progress from here and build that alliance also at the same time, as well as build the party from the grassroots. And last and not the least is, of course, exit polls. Not sacrosanct, something that has been said time and again, but this time again, the big one, Uttar Pradesh, they're totally wrong. And as many pollsters themselves have started saying, that they can indicate vote shares, but best not to get into seat shares at this point. So those are the key takeaways that we are looking at this moment. And finally, the big one, EVMs, the biggest winner in this entire verdict. The debate over EVMs and ECE and impartiality hopefully settled now, and the selective propaganda around the allegedly manipulated EVMs should probably come to an end. Let me introduce our guests here. We have senior academic Manisha Priyam with us. We have Sanjay Jha, a congressee by heart, as he always calls himself. Sanjay, I have to talk to you at length today, because what you said to me 1 month ago actually possibly came true, and I didn't believe you at that time, but yes, that's exactly what happened. And we have Sandeep Ghosh with us, a businessman and of course a political commentator. Welcome to the show, Sandeep. Let me start off with Sanjay Jha, everyone. Sanjay Jha, on June 3rd, one day before the results, you put out a tweet saying that this could be a hung parliament. Now remember, viewers, this was a time when every exit poll out there was predicting at least 350 plus seats for the NDA. Now, 3 exit polls had even given the 400 par number, but those were just 3. Rest everyone was giving 350 plus. Many, including me, I humbly submit, Sanjay, did not believe in that pessimism. But it seems you understood the undercurrents far better than many of our exit posters did.
Aditi, thank you very much, and it's good to be on your program. And hello to both Sandeep and Manisha ji. I'll tell you why I wrote that. In fact, it's very interesting. But even just before the elections were announced, I had predicted that if the India Alliance didn't make mistakes, they would get close to 250. I don't want to say I told you so, but I have been consistent even before the elections were formally announced. And the reasons are very straightforward. The assumption that I think a lot of people made when they said that Mr. Modi's party will get 350 or 400 was they assumed there will be zero anti incumbency. In fact, there will be a pro incumbency. And you did not have to look too hard to see, excuse me, but the farmers were upset. The joblessness was a serious issue. And the farming community is a huge population of India. India, as we all know, has got almost 70% of its population being below 35 years of age. And I said, how can such significant numbers, masses of people, be completely unaffected by the kind of circumstances they are in? It didn't seem to make any rational sense to me. And, if you go deeper, then you realized even Mr. Modi's brand, everyone kept getting obsessed that Modi will win it again. But, I mean, it's a common law of life that over a period of time, brands do diminish in value. They can again recoup it. I'm not saying they can't. But the truth is, in politics, you're susceptible to developments that actually you could have made an error in, or those that are outside your control. So when you look at Aditi, the electoral bonds issue, or the hubris in arresting people like Arvind Kejriwal and Hemant Soren, freezing Congress's bank accounts. It completely kind of betrayed a certain level of hubris within the BJP. And Mr. Modi's statement that 370 400 par was made after the Pran Pratishtha. So I think the larger assumption in Mr. Modi's head was it's an emotive issue, the construction of the Ram temple for the majority, 80% of the population will sail him through. But eventually, you get caught up in bread and butter realities. I want to keep answers short because the others need to come in, and I would like to have a more meaningful kind of conversation with the others as well. I want to leave you with one thought, Aditi. The defeat of the BJP candidate Lallu Singh in Ayodhya tells you something extremely serious, that the epicenter of what Mr. Modi thought will be his big historic win of 400 votes in the Lok Sabha has been rejected at the very core. India is basically always going to be syncretic. It's a vote for, I would call, as secular harmony in this country. They have rejected the communal polarization in Ayodhya and in Uttar Pradesh, a message that nobody was prepared for. And of course, authoritarianism has been given a thumbs down.
All right. I mean, I'm going to come back to you after I take my initial responses from my two other panelists. Let me come to you, Dr. Manisha Priyam. Your sense, Sanjay has said, that this was a vote against communal harmony, against communalism, especially Ayodhya and Uttar Pradesh. But your sense of what happened in Uttar Pradesh, what happened in this particular election, not just in actually Uttar Pradesh, but a lot of places. Suddenly, there in Bengal, in Rajasthan. Rajasthan, admittedly, there were quite a few people who were saying that BJP is going to lose ground on several seats. Of course, the number of seats that it lost ground on was far higher. But what exactly went down according to you? Was it a thumbs down to dictatorship, as Sanjay puts it?
So let me begin by saying that this was a victory for open minds. And open minds means minds that think about ground situations and think about, remember, every voter of India is actually an academic researcher. They think about their issues, they think about what, not just what's good for them, but what's good for their community, their constituency, but they also, when they're voting nationally, they think about what's good for the nation. And this is that poor man or woman who have their head bent and they're working in the fields of India in scorching sun. They take the time out to think about welfare and well-being. It's that researcher, it's that academic, it's that social conscience of India that makes and remakes India time and again. Remember our history books that this government is very keen on tampering. The first attack that they want to do is the story of Chori Chora, is the story of the indigo plantation farmer. Where does Gandhi go and becomes a Mahatma to a place called Champaran, where he hears the story of the peasants? Where does Gandhi go? He goes to Shikar and listens to the story of Begar labor. So the point is that just this mitti, this desh, is reshaped by its poor people. Suddenly, a large class became affluent and believed in the brands that were supplied to it, stopped going back to the villages, to the khet and khalihan that sustained us. We became like two continents floating above the other. The others were just to bend, stoop down, cultivate, and serve us. And I think the picture of that India has been thrown asunder by very polite and humble people. You are talking about states like Rajasthan. Let me tell you, by the first round of elections, it was very clear to those of us who had our ears to the ground that something was shaking the earth. The BJP was losing not less than 10 to 12 seats in a Rajasthan that they had just about won in a state election. And we had these figures. By then, the Maharashtra numbers were being picked up. We had the Bihar numbers. Remember, the story is not just in the grand exit polls. And that's why I've insisted today that you call me a doctor. We were looking at states like Bihar and we were tracking that forget the numbers. We were getting the CPIML victories. The CPIML today has two important streams. Two ministers of the NDA government, Upender Singh Kushwaha, and another minister who's been a former home secretary of this country, very respected officer from the state of Bihar, RK Singh, defeated by another CPIML candidate. What's the story of these two people? Upender Singh Kushwaha in his constituency, where I had two absolutely fantastic researchers from one important university. If I name it, the government will go after them and arrest the students. Two lady students from the southern parts of India parked in Karakat, and they find out that Upender Kushwaha was forced to apologize in village after village, and he was asked, "Don't talk about Ram Mandir, talk about farmers' issues." And it was as if Karakat became the Singhu border. And Raja Ram Singh Kushwaha of the CPIML said that we will talk about farmers' issues from the perspective of rights. I know you may not be interested in ARA, but here the victor is the son of a sweetmeat shop owner. And Hindi newspaper editors told me that he would stand outside their newspaper offices and tell them, "अंकल, हमारी पार्टी का पर्चा है, इसको छाप दीजिए." आज जिसका पर्चा हमने नहीं छापा, वो संसद में आपके पावर मिनिस्टर को हरा के आता है. इसके अलावा भी there are many other victories. We had the Uttar Pradesh numbers, but the fact was that those with large scale surveys were the dominant people. Our doctorates were not enough. We were road chap. Somebody called me Manisha ji. Somebody called me journalist. Somebody called me political analyst. Today, when somebody asks me, I say, "Jo marzi वैसे introduce कर दो." Our doctorate was a hard-earned doctorate doing field work. There are errors of exclusion. We have evidence from the 2019 election that there were systematic targeting, what is called type 1 errors in economics, systematic targeting and deletion of names. That's type 1 error. Type 2 error is what is called inflation. And the great so-called pollsters were simply creating a smokescreen. And I can tell you today, ask through your this thing to set up a People Statistical Commission. A lot of these polls will not even pass the bare minimums of statistical examination. What does this government do the most? Just dismantle the great statistical systems set up by Mahalanobis. This country was proud of the Mahalanobis who trained not just the ILO statisticians, entire African statistical system was set up. We have Dr. Bashir of the ILO, whose daughter, Dr. Sajida Bashir from Kerala, led the Human Development Network at the World Bank. Eminent statisticians, Shastri, all of them spent their life in Africa training statisticians. What did we want to do? Oh, this is a Bengali, this is a Malayali. Then we sat back. But who were our best friends? Our best friends were the peasants and the poor. Thanks to them that we have this moment of democracy. By the way, we had the numbers for Maharashtra by 26. Rajasthan, after the first phase, we had the numbers. Bihar, we had the numbers. Uttar Pradesh, the people who were giving us the numbers had told us not more than 36. And we were in disbelief. We cannot be all over India. Karnataka, we had the numbers. So we had the numbers from a lot of places. But then the media told us, okay, your numbers may be fine for wherever you are giving it. In Bengal, you will lose. Now, as a poor academic, how many places can I go to? But the places we saw at the numbers, today we need to say that we owe it to the poor people of India for having remained confident about their democracy, their country, their lives. We are not doing a rahm on them. They are doing a rahm on us and course correcting us to live the life that Gandhi asked us to live. And Gandhi lived with Ba, his Mangal Sutra companion forever. Ba died in jail with Gandhi, the ultimate of the Mangal Sutra. What more do you want from the pages of history of our country? Not a life is enough to live by the history that Gandhi left for us, that Rajendra Babu left for us, that the Indigo Foundation left for us, and Chaurika left for us. Many lives can be lived.
Dr. Manisha Priyam, thank you for that. I think there was a lot of, you were particularly angry and a lot of vented anger which you just vented out, and that's interesting that you had the numbers. Nobody was interested in those numbers because that's something that many of my pollster friends tell me that okay, TV channels just wanted, that we prefer that we give out just the vote shares because that's all, and those are also indicative.
Even those are also wrong. Vote shares were also wrong.
Exactly, those are indicative. That's what they said. That but then it's the pressure of TRPs and the pressure from the TV channels who are really their paymasters.
They had impunity. They have been doing it for the last many years. They had impunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yes. And this time around, probably something is going to come out of it because there's some petitions being moved to do something with exit polls. I don't know what exactly, but we'll see how that plays out. But let me just bring in Sandeep Ghosh right now. Sandeep, I really want to get with you because what we heard from Dr. Manisha was very clear that the exit polls had it wrong, but they still went ahead. The academics had the real numbers. Nobody was asking for them. Having said that, now that the dust has settled, we'll see what happens moving forward with the other elections that are around the corner. And hopefully somebody will look at the numbers from that are coming in from the academics themselves. But having said that, in your opinion, what's your take on this verdict and some of the lessons that I've talked about, especially with regard to the BJP, with regard to the arrogance of personality and the cult personality. I remember speaking with you. You yourself, I think, had said, or somebody else had said that it's like Prime Minister Narendra Modi is contesting from 543 seats. Everyone is looking up at him to deliver. Clearly, he could not after 10 years.
Yeah, and thanks so much. A pleasure being here, especially hearing Dr. Priyam. That was a very, very passionate discourse and quite educative for a layman like me, who kind of dabbles in politics more as a pastime, or as in Sanjay's city, as they call it, time pass. So it was very, very educating, and Sanjay is somebody whom I keep sparring and discussing, so that was there. I'm not into that academic level or intellectual level. I look at it from a very, very basic point. An article of mine has just at this moment got published in News 18 and First Post. Looking at it, as I said again, I'm not saying it with any sense of modesty, though, as Churchill said, Churchill has been quoted a lot this time. I'm a modest man, much to be modest about. I think, all these factors which we are talking about, there is no single one factor in this election. There is, and everything is true. Everything what Dr. Priyam has said is true. What Sanjay has said is true, and others are saying. But it is an aggregation of many things if we were simply looking at the results. And what I think is, although you said the dust has settled, I don't think the dust has settled. I find there is new dust it is almost like after a nuclear burst, explosion, you have this whole cloud created. the mushroom. So similarly, a new set of dust is being created. I half just wrote earlier that if, say, identical result was delivered by another prime minister, whether forget Mr. Bajpayee, if everybody wants to see Rajnath Singh, Nitin Gadkari, and say Shivraj Chauhan, if they were, let's say, the prime minister with a 303 tally last time and came down to 240, whether there would be so much of either jubilation or depression or whatever created after that, I'm not too sure. It's a counterfactual question we need to see. So I think there is, again, that's the Modi element. He sort of provokes very extreme reactions, and that's why right now also I don't think there is too much of clarity, and we have to give it a little more time for everything to settle down. But the lessons which you said, which you talked of, and what others have said, is all very true. But the point which I tried to make in my article, it'll be wrong to take out any single reason for the entire national result. But Dr. Priyam was saying one thing I always agree, and as you know, I was traveling before this, and I was in the US, where I was attending quite a few lectures at this Commonwealth Club, where similar kind of conversations are today happening in America between the right and the Democrats and the red. And I said, see, India is very different. There you talk of a red and blue kind of states, people are much more seeped in. In India, it is not so. That's why some of the assumptions which we have made about
Okay, we seem to have lost Sandeep. Let's try to reconnect him, friends, unless the internet problem is on this side. Can you check? All right, everybody is frozen up for some reason. There's some internet connection. So you see the
sociologists, just as all of us have been converted to either cephalogists or analysts at different points in time, we become different things. But people grounded on the ground have their own reasoning. But if we were looking at Aditi, the major points being made, and in this article also I tried to write, it holds true, really speaking, in one state, I think that is UP.
Yeah.
In every other state, if you look at it, I think there were various other factors which have sort of, what I would say, amplified the results. Dr. Priyam was talking about Rajasthan. Rajasthan, I know for a fact, this 8 to 9 seats were again not a surprise, but a lot of those things have happened because of major political errors on part of the BJP in terms of the seat allocations, how those constituencies have been treated or not. So you may say that they would have lost some seats, sure, but may not be 8. Maharashtra is a classic, it should be a case study. How that whole state was mismanaged at every level from the time they had this jolt with Shiv Sena, and every single decision which the BJP has taken there, including these acquisitions, are flummoxing. Why? How do they? What did they gain by it? Even the latest one, the last one of Ajit Pawar's thing, just brought one seat, nothing more. In fact, he weakened the alliance to some extent. It curtailed powers from Fadnavis and others. At least Shinde has delivered certain seats. So there again, they have lost seats, in my own judgment. And then UP, while all those other factors are true, but again, the whole issues, infighting, etc., within BJP, all the factionalism or fault lines they've had, that itself, I wouldn't say they may have lost seats, certainly, but whether they would have lost 30 seats or they would have lost 20 seats is a matter of conjecture. So if you take all those seats, in my very rule of, back of the envelope kind of calculation, I think 30, 40 seats, they have just frittered away. And which, if
but,
you try
but
to,
I just want to sorry to interrupt you in the interest of just taking forward this
There's a
conversation.
lot of disturbance, Aditi, in your line. There are a lot of
Is there a,
crossover voices happening. I don't know why.
can you
Yeah,
hear me
go ahead,
properly
please.
now?
I can hear
Okay.
you, but there is a lot of background
Crossover voices.
noise. Uh,
So I know I've just told them I think there's some problem with the audio. They're just fixing it. But having said that, what I'm just saying is that, in your opinion, the people in Uttar Pradesh specifically, if we look at Uttar Pradesh, there were problems. But was it? I mean, Ayodhya, for instance, Lallu Singh losing from there. Now that
So,
if
as I
poor,
said, Uttar Pradesh is a great case study. You can take the
yes,
case study and all the conclusions you are drawing, I don't think any of them are wrong. Only point I'm trying to make, even in Uttar Pradesh, the loss was exaggerated or enlarged, also due to BJP's own various other their own management issues. If they would have fixed that, they may not have had a loss of 30 seats. They would have had probably lower number of seats. But the points what you are saying in each one of those are true. But despite that, not too long ago, they had won Uttar Pradesh fair and square in the assembly election. So what has changed between then to now? That was immediately post-COVID. Has situations really on any of those
worsened.
front, economic front, has it worsened post-COVID after that in the next 1 year, or has things improved? If you ask me, I don't want to get into that debate. I walk the dirt tracks of Uttar Pradesh very much because of my own business, not because of reasons of research. So I have my own views on what is the level of economic distress or not in those
Let,
markets.
let,
The
let me
product
let
I deal. Okay, no, I'm not countering any of these things. So, what I'm trying to say, Aditi, those facts are true, but there are also other things at play. The caste configuration, the whole thing has played a big role. There, in that, that's why you've had this kind of very clear caste polarization. You're talking of Ayodhya overall. I think this was discussed in your channel and everywhere else. The mistake which people thought Ayodhya is going to give BJP a boost. But Ayodhya, there was nothing more to boost over there. Whatever had to be gained, promises delivered. If I wanted Ayodhya, I got it. But then that's a given. I look at something more from there going forward. If I had an issue about what happens with the freebies all over the country, there are certain states, like I living in the south earlier, where the concessional rice and ration is now taken for granted. It's the new normal. Then people look beyond that. What is my next thing? So if free ration has been given for the last 3-5 years, that is now no longer is something which will give you the incremental benefit. People will take that as given, and from there they will consider something more. So what the new factors have come in, that is what we need to see, and whether people
let me
think that.
take this to Sanjay Jha. Sanjay, you said that this is a vote against the dictatorship of Modi. Clearly, if you look at Uttar Pradesh, it was more the right noises, or the right alliance that Akhilesh Yadav and Rahul Gandhi got together, and also caste, the caste jugglery, or for lack of a better word, the caste equations fell in place for the SP Congress thing. It doesn't seem like so much of a vote against, because they've still got a sizable number of seats, although the SP and the Congress has beaten them hands down.
One
Aditi,
point I'll say before
Aditi,
coming, Aditi, before Sanjay comes in, a very
I need to go.
controversial point. Yeah, I'll also leave, Sanjay, just for not take more than half a minute. I think in Uttar Pradesh today, it's just a reverse of what people were seeing the Modi factor in rest of India. Earlier, the local incumbency was being overcome by Modi, which, as Sanjay said, is a diminishing return. I think in Uttar Pradesh today, a different thing is playing. Yogi carries a far greater thing. If that's why assembly election he could sweep. Modi factor there has weakened. In fact, today, if you see in Uttar Pradesh, Yogi's equity in terms of that brand, what Modi was 2 years, one election ago, all India, I think today Yogi is that in Uttar Pradesh. And when you have weakened him over there, you haven't got the delivery.
Absolutely. The internal rift within the BJP is one of the key reasons that Uttar Pradesh was not delivered in the manner in which it was imagined by the Bharatiya Janata Party. Sanjay, your sense on that, and then Anisha will come to you on that.
Yeah, thank you. Sandeep, if you're done, I will come in now. I actually believe that what Manisha ji said actually nails this entire conversation on this election. It has been hard for people who have really fought at the ground level for things that matter for Indian society on issues like inequality, poverty, caste discrimination, minority harassment. Who even talks of Dalits in India the way they should be talked about? I mean, we are living in a different planet. I felt over the last 10 years in the political confabulations that I have been part of that the Modi government created a mirage, some kind of a hallucination that was a planet that I didn't live in. And I think this election, and let's try and understand that when I heard, I've been with Manisha in several debates in the past, and I can understand the angst that people have gone through. And those who know the ground reality are today expressing it. And I don't think it's an expression of, anger. It's a frustration of not even letting the common people know what is the truth that they need to see. I want to make just 2 points. I will not take too long, it's my promise. I think, Aditi, this election tells you that arrogance has consequences. And it's not just about saying 400 seats and so on. There has been a hubris about Mr. Modi and his government, the way they talk, the way they are condescending, stopping parliamentary conversations, calling farmers Khalistanis, arresting Disha Ravi for protesting about a toolkit. I mean, what do you think? This country is blind to the kind of brutal authoritarianism? And I think the people have answered that. Is it a full answer? I don't think so. But here is my second point. The BJP is going to town saying, why is the India team gloating? After all, they're 234. On our own, we are 240. But I need to tell your viewers
I
today.
wanted to ask you that.
Now, that's exactly my point. The viewers of your program should know this. This contest I've never seen in my entire living memory, a Lok Sabha election with a complete absence of a level playing field. Complete absence, zero. And despite, it's like a boxing match where I'm boxing a rival and my rival is standing on one leg because that's the rule for him, not for me. He's not wearing boxing gloves and he's blinded and he's supposed to beat me in a boxing match. It might appear like a laughable exaggeration, but the BJP was trying to freeze the Congress's bank accounts. Aditi, you are aware, right? You're a veteran in the media. We all know how the big media has been a cheerleader for Mr. Modi's government for the last 10 years. It affects the political narrative. Number 3, money, electoral bonds, and a lot of the money in the system was with the BJP. A very dodgy election commission. A very dodgy election commission that, in my opinion, should have stopped Mr. Modi for hate speech long time ago. And 5th, a complete regulatory capture wherein Arvind Kejriwal, a chief minister, is in jail. Hemant Soren is in jail. This was not a regular election. Therefore, I want to answer your question by telling you those 234 seats, could they have been 300, 295? I absolutely believe so. And the BJP is lucky that it got even 240. But remember this, Aditi, this is a party that said 400 and ended up with 160 seats less.
I agree. But Congress also said 295, not 100 seats less, but definitely much lesser than what they had projected. 295 is what Kharge ji had said, what Rahul Gandhi had said. So everyone, hyperbole is part of our election narrative. Look, I'm just trying to tell both sides of the story here. It's not that one is bad and the other one is good. It's politics. Everyone is trying to get their get the voter towards their side. But in the end, the voter has spoken, and the voter has really showed everyone their place, all political parties, all political leaders. They say, we are the Janta Janardhan and we need to be taken care of. Now, Prime Minister Modi, BJP may come and say that, oh, we've been taking care of you, there are the Labhartis, everything. But clearly, there was something amiss and there was something which was not delivered. Whether it's the angst of poor selection of candidates, whether unable to see the rural distress, or not wanting to see, or having blinkers on and seeing there is a rift within the party, people are going in different directions. That aside, let me just talk to you, a very small thing, Congress. I know you have to go, Sanjay. So I just have one question, and this is over the Congress party and the India alliance. Right now post-election, as Sandeep was saying, the new set of dust is flowing for, yes, Prime Minister Modi, who's never worked in a coalition situation, will have to work in a coalition and have to abide by coalition dharmas. There are, and both Chandrababu Naidu as well as Nitish Kumar are old hands at this, and they know how to get what they want. But on the other side, the India alliance, Rahul Gandhi also, Congress's wins in this time, the night from 54 seats to 99 seats. You could say that it is because of Rahul Gandhi and the Padyatra and the Bharat Jodo Yatra, but it's also because of the alliances that the Congress was able to stitch up in Tamil Nadu, in Uttar Pradesh, even in Maharashtra. Do you believe that now? How should the Congress use this momentum it's got? This time it was about alliances.
Well, I can tell you only one thing that I have conveyed to my friends in the Congress party. The celebrations must be over. It's over. It's history. The election results are out. Mr. Modi is forming the government with his alliance partners. We'll have to wait and see how they perform. At least the autocracy and the dictatorial tendencies this government has shown ought to be now under check. I think the opposition will be more vigilant. They got bigger numbers. The bigger issue here is that the Congress party needs to absolutely focus on what you said in the beginning: Haryana, Jharkhand, and Maharashtra. In Maharashtra and Haryana, the Congress party has a very good chance of forming governments. And if that now is the next step, you're very close to the halfway mark at the center. If Mr. Modi's government implodes, anything is possible. But let them implode. Don't try and engineer defections. The second point, very, very important, is win as many state elections. Mr. Modi's government will have a real check on its very authoritarian positions if the opposition is sitting in state assemblies. And the Congress is in a position today to win Jharkhand, Haryana, and Maharashtra. And that could be the real game changer. By the end of this year, India's political landscape could look remarkably different.
Okay, I just because Sandeep, your thought on this, that the coalition dharma part of it, because you are a very keen. I was seeing your tweets since the last couple of days. How do you think Mr. Modi is going to manage? Sanjay has talked about the lesson for the Congress here, how it's got to take this momentum forward. But how about the BJP? How about Mr. Modi? He's never worked in a coalition situation.
Mr. Modi is a great learner, and he works always on self-improvement. One of his own examples, people thought earlier he'll not be able to stand up in the on the foreign policy front, be able to speak to world leaders. He has done that, and people may agree or not agree, or people may have their views. I think he has done that very well. People thought he will, on various other fronts, he won't be able to handle. He has done that. So even on this, I think if the job requires him to do something, he may have a certain, position outside, but he is a man who's also flexible. And that comes from, if you see from the, there is no denying, even as today people who have become his critics, like Rajiv Sardesai, they themselves also in the weak point admit what Mr. Modi was 20 or 30 years ago, when he used to move around, putting up posters and
Yeah.
traveling in a scooter
On
with
a
Amit Shah
scooter.
riding,
Yes.
etc. So he can change, he can do. So I'm not particularly worried about that. In terms of when you're talking of the optics or in terms of how he deals, he will do whatever the job requires him to do. So I'm not particularly worried on that score about how he'll manage. He needs people around him. One of the kind of people he is missing today is Arun Jaitley. Should have been around with him. So therefore, if there is a decision that he's trying to bring somebody like Shivraj Chauhan to the center in whatever capacity, whether in the cabinet or whether in the party, those are the kind of people he requires, and that is what will help him through the coalition thing. I'm also leaving, Aditi. I have to move to another program.
Sure,
I
sure, 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 sure.
agree.
Manisha,
Okay.
Dr. Manisha Priyam,
Thank.
yes. Sorry, Dr. Manisha Priyam, I kept you for the last because I wanted to hear from you your sense of what next. You said that there were lots of problems. The tea leaves were, people were unable to see these tea leaves. Do you see rural distress, inflation, joblessness, the real issues, they were ignored in this election? How do you see these playing out in the assembly elections which are coming up within the next 3 months? Haryana, Jharkhand, Maharashtra.
So there were issues that the other panelists raised, and they made their points, and they were uninterrogated. I don't know who's ever going to listen to the counters that I have for them.
Please, I think please carry on. I will convey those counters, and I'm so sorry.
You allow me to speak, please. Otherwise, you can just speak. I can patiently listen to you also. I don't agree with the framing of this election, first of all. Second, I don't agree that Mr. Modi needs people around him. What did he have 10 years? He had people he selected. He did what he wanted. He had absolute majority for a full decade. If his agenda was 370 removal, he did it. If his agenda was construction of the Ram Janambhoomi temple, he did it. What about the fact that this election, somebody said, oh, election is about politics? Certainly, election is not a mujra, it is politics. Who said election is a mujra? The people of this country kept quiet for the two months of electioneering. Do you think it's a nice thing to say? Do you think a woman like me, somebody called me emotional? I'm telling you the hard facts. The hard fact is an important political party was called as doing a mujra. I don't care what that political party does. You debase a place and a space. Would you have been able to say this would the opposition party would have been able to say this in any town in Gujarat? You would have arrested them lock, stock and barrel. And I don't know what fate awaits me, but I've certainly felt very hurt. The fact is that the wrestlers, they were sitting here. The election was about Samvidhan, Kisan and Jawan. The election was also about Samvidhan, Kisan and Palwan. You had the son of that person. Surely the son was not embroiled in any controversy. Was that the best tokenism for this party to have done? One of your panelists said, oh, it's about caste and management. No. You got the narrative wrong, you got the people wrong, and you switched off all the information about India's democracy. And you said, okay, people wonder on election results eve, exit poll will come and give 400, then the result will come, and then Bhavya Devi will happen. And everybody should believe this is charismatic India. It didn't happen that way. Is this the fault of the people? Then to say, oh, Yogi failed, this was just 10 seats, no. There was a moving mandate. And as Sanjay has said, it was not a level playing field. What I want to do, 3 things.
Yes.
Number 1, if markets work on freedom and open principles of interactions and demand and supply, political markets even more work on basic level of freedom, of information, of interaction, of resources, of allowing people to air their views. How did the wrestlers' protest end in Delhi? Was that a good way to end? The pulp on which a newspaper is written, it should put its head in shame. Most newspapers in India, they rose to their glory defending the people's struggle on the ground. Were the wrestlers motivated in sitting and saying there is a charge of molestation? What was this government busy doing? You know very well. If I said more than this. So there was an implicit message to the people of India that in a variety of ways, our constitution, our political system is a threat. If the people in Maharashtra think this way, in Jharkhand, I can tell you, Hemant Soren's government was not doing very well. But you went ahead, chased him, arrested him. You went ahead, chased Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, who I think he does good work. He also has opposition. There is not a rupee recovered from Mr. Kejriwal. What is the status of Mr. Ajit Pawar? So you have Mr. Ajit Pawar, who is clean according to your government, who gives them certificate. Please find out from themselves only. And you have these people. Why is Umar Khalid in jail? What is his great mistake? He upset the city of Delhi. So there are systematic mistakes. Has there been any discussion about why Chandrasekhar Azad wins from Nagina? What happens there? So you have to put the people without money, but the people with poverty and issues will not fight the elections like brand and leaders and caste coalitions. Akhilesh's caste coalition was weaker than BJP's in Uttar Pradesh. The BJP had Anupriya Patel, Sonalal Patel's both daughters, which is the Kurmi caste coalition, the Apna Dal. They had Om Prakash Rajbhar, which is Suhel Dev, Bharatiya Samaj Party. They had, apart from that, very important leaders. The RLD joined them, the Jat factor. What was missing? How many ministers lost their election?
Right.
So all leaders, caste parties, right narrative, somebody called the Prime Minister fighting there, Rajnath Singh ji fighting there. If they still don't win their election in Uttar Pradesh, they have lost their election because people did not vote for them. That's the square answer. The second part is, in state after state, you have had an erosion of the BJP's numbers, vote base. You knew this from the first phase. We have messages from the Honorable Home Minister saying we are by the sixth phase, we are at near 10 numbers. The country like to believe on their Home Minister and their Prime Minister. We don't hold them in any disrespect. But can somebody ask them why this kind of information was being given? He should not have given a number. He was the Honorable Home Minister of this country. It is your job as media, not ours, to put our lives at stake today. Tomorrow, if I get arrested, not a tear will be dropped by anybody. Because as it is, I'm portrayed as the emotional woman, or she is put after my name. I'm talking about rural distress and all that. I can tell you, last but not the least, the poor voter is not just voting because of economic distress. Everybody in economics, there are theories about the futures. The poor voter wants to invest in the future of their young ones. What was on offer to them? Agniveer. 4 years of recruitment in the army, for which should go and see in towns like Patna, in towns like Allahabad, not less than 2.5 to 3 lakh young ones. They somehow just hang around there and go to small coaching centers, etc., paying lots of money. All of them run on the streets of the city. From 6 a.m. in the morning, you will find young boys training for Bharti.
But Agniveer, ma'am, might yet become the disagreeing factor. It might become a problem for the Modi government because
in the same interview, the Honorable Home Minister has said that two journalists asked him about Agniveer or employment. I don't remember what they said, but the Honorable Home Minister said it is not good for youth to look for government jobs. They should do something else. Why? So the thing is that if poor people are coming and asking for a secure state to protect them, we will turn back and tell them, you got your Gehum. Now you go back, you are Labharti. What is this Labharti? They are rights-bearing citizens. And especially women are also rights-bearing citizens. To talk about rights, to talk about citizenship, to talk about investing in futures is not being an emotional woman at all.
Right.
It's being the rationality of politics, and freedoms define politics. That's important. This country needs to listen to its citizens. That's the lesson of this election.
But Dr. Manisha Priya, I just have one last question for you before you go, and based on what you just said, 240 seats the BJP has still managed. It is the single largest party in the Lok Sabha. It's not that it won all the seats in Madhya Pradesh, in Delhi, in Himachal, in Arunachal, in Uttarakhand. So it's not a complete thumbs down for whatever form of whatever schemes that have been run, whether it's the Labhartis that have worked, whether it's the communalism, the polarizing speeches that have worked, but something has worked. It is still the largest party. It's not that they've been defeated.
Yes, Aditi, let me be extremely clear to you. I am a researcher and believe in speaking the truth. In
Absolutely.
Bihar, the respect for Prime Minister Modi has been quite clear in interviews taken with extremely backward castes and backward castes. Let this message go out loud and clear. We do not speak only for the sake of speaking. But the fact is that when we, raise the issues which are positive, we are taken to be serious scholars. When we point out to you that these issues are not issues where this type of a decision should, it is not in public interest, then we have speeches saying, oh, these are the what are the labels we get as academics? Please recount them yourself, you belong to the press. Cultural Marxist, urban, is this any sign of being an urban naxal or anything like that? We are just
Abs-
doing systematic research and telling you what's happening on the ground. And a lot of
so
things are positive for the BJP. And therefore, the country would like to see a government which is led by the current Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They have reposed their faith for 240 seats. That's what it is. And if the India bloc tries to cobble a coalition right now, people will also hold them to account. Let it be very clear.
Okay, so you're saying not all is lost if the BJP and the NDA course correct and look at the problems that are actually being faced, address the rural distress, address the issues with Agniveer, address all these issues, things can still be salvaged.
I mean, that's for the political party to understand. But I can tell you, if we have spoken with openness today, it is with a view to course correction in our democracy. We have no political axe to grind. But I know how it will be taken. Criticism is not the sine qua non of the democracy that we've seen in the last decade in India.
All right, ma'am. Thank you so much for those inputs. And I think our viewers have enjoyed listening to you and have actually understood some of your points. You made very, very valid points. And let's hope somebody in the corridors of power are listening to them. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, viewers, for watching this broadcast. We will come back to you with more. Stay tuned to the Times of India.